Are you tired of staring at the same loop over and over? Well, I got 3 techniques to help you escape the 4-bar loop trap. You need to think about what you want to make before you touch a keyboard, before you open an instrument plugin, before you even open your laptop. This is important because you want to be able to be in the mind frame of seeing the whole picture instead of just a tiny picture, which is the 4-bar loop and why you get stuck. I do understand. You probably just want to get in and make your beats right away. I started like that when I first started. I was just making music and I would just go into it and say, I ain't made music, so I have to make it. And then what would happen? I would be excited, but then I'd get stuck and then I get frustrated and then I'll stop making music. As I continue to make music, I understand, especially for sync licensing, the big picture. I can hum a melody in my head and know what I want to make. That way I can put it down as a full song. The mind frame I go into making music for television, I think about these things. What type of emotion do I want to portray? Will it be dark, happy, or bright sounding? What does the melody sound like? Will it be bouncy? Will it be soft? Will it be hard hitting? Will it be sparse, complicated? What am I creating the music for? Is it sports, like basketball, tennis, high energy things? Is it action or is it drama and suspense? Some music libraries will give you a brief and they'll tell you what kind of music is needed for the scene. So that makes it even more easier. But even when I'm just going to just make music, I still apply the same thought about what do I want to make before I even touch anything musical. Once you have an idea in your head, don't change the idea. This is where the mistake happens. You're going through a 4-bar loop, whether it be a melody or a drum pattern, and you're not feeling it. So what happens? You start all over. I know I've done this plenty of times and you just keep starting over and over. But that's why I say you need to think about what you want to make. So I might have a melody in my head that go doom, 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 doom. Once I get that, I put it down. Now I do not change the idea. This way, I go through it and I get in the repetition of just finishing the music. And you never know. Even though the song may not come out as good as you think, somebody may want to use this in one of their TV scenes. I want you to go from loop mode to song mode. As you can see on the screen here, we got a simple loop, 4-bar loop. Now, you might be stuck there for a long time, but what I want you to do is repeat the loop till you got about 2 minutes. There we go. And why I say 2 minutes is because most songs, if you make for sync licensing, they want them to be between 1:30 and 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So this automatically takes your brain from loop mode to song mode. I'm going to take a small section and I'm not going to even play anything, but because I'm already thinking about a song, let's think about an intro. So I'll take out the bass. I'll take out the snare until the end, no hi-hat, no percussion, no bass. Quick intro. Then we got the verse. For the verse, I'll take out the percussion. I'll take out the hi-hats for half of it. Then on the second part, what I'm going to do is drop out the main melody, keep the percussion, and so now I didn't even listen to anything, but I'm already in song mode where I built an intro, I built a verse, a second verse, and then back to the hook. Now you see how simple that was? So even though this is just basic, I mean, it sounds really good depending on what kind of show this is going for, but you may want to add a little bit elements, and that's going to lead us into step 3. This last tip is so simple. You're going to be like, why didn't I think of that? All you need to do is instead of making 4-bar loops, you make an 8-bar loop. Yes, now this is a slower tempo, so I'm able to do 8 bars, but if you're working at a faster tempo, just double that to 16 bars. But if you look here, there's a lot of empty space left. That means there's a lot to build in the 8 bars. With these 8 bars, you're able to really build out a track where you can start at bar 1, make things really sparse and subtle, then come into bar 4 with a small, tiny fill, or you might have a rise or transition into bar 4. Then by the time you get to bar 7, you're bringing all the fills back. You're bringing everything to make you really go into bar 8 into that next section of the track. I'm going to break this down in what I call the ABC method. Here's a project that I created for a sync library, and I have everything labeled. And I say ABC method because if you look here, I got verse, that's A, then verse, A2, verse 2, I have B1, B2, and then I have C, the hook. So A, B, and C. And thinking about it as A1, A2, B1, B2 allows me to split it up between each 4 bars. So I tried to have some kind of movement, some kind of change every 4 bars to make sure your beat is moving along with the scene. Because in sync licensing, the most important thing is usually the dialogue, because it moves along. So you don't want to make things too repetitive, but you want to have a little bit of movement so it can keep the scene going. So I have everything labeled up here, and I start with the intro. Sometimes I start with the intro, sometimes I don't, but this is the basis of the track. The second part of the hook. Verse 1, that's A1. Listen how sparse it is. Now listen to the transition. That's A2. Now listen how I transition into the next verse. Then the second verse sounds different. The drums are louder. Breakdown. That's B2. And back into the hook. Now you see how I broke that down? So the verse was really sparse. Then by the time I got to the 4th bar, I transitioned, made a little bit more in the same verse 1, but A2. Then once I got there to B1, it sounds completely different from the first one, but it keeps going. It keeps movement of the track. And then the B2 part we break down and back into the hook. So you see how that ABC method works. Now you got a whole new approach, so you won't be stuck again in that 4-bar loop. Let me know in the comments if this video helped you and you want to see more tips and theory behind making music production, especially for sync licensing. I want to know what you think. Take it easy. Peace.